under this thick blanket of toxic air that covers New Delhi every winter that these newborns take their first breath. In this neonatal intensive care unit, Dr. Dinesh Raj is their guardian angel. But he knows that this extremely polluted air is already taking its toll.
If we look at the today's level, it shows 403, which is in the severe range. It would be equal to smoking around 30 cigarettes a day. And because the babies breathe at a faster rate, the harm would be more for them.
Air pollution poses serious risks to the health of pregnant women and their unborn babies. According to this pediatrician, 1/3 of premature births can be linked to high levels of fine particulate matter in the air.
This baby was born at 33 weeks, but the weight was only 1.17. These are some of the problems which could be secondary to air pollution, because it is now a proven fact that air pollution can lead to preterm labor, can lead to stillbirths, can lead to long-term respiratory and neurological problems.
1 in 3 children growing up in New Delhi develop respiratory illnesses. During the winter, New Delhi's air is poisoned by fine particle levels up to 60 times higher than the World Health Organization's recommendations. Hospitals are overwhelmed by a 40% surge in admissions, which includes children. Asthma, pneumonia, or other lung diseases get triggered or get worse.
Because you know that the lung is already diseased. On that you are asking a child to breathe at an AQI of around 464. That causes an exacerbation of symptoms in these children. So we tell the parents to keep the child indoors.
Millions of mothers are forced to keep their children indoors to protect them from exposure to polluted air. In 2020, Bhabareen Khandari formed a coalition of women fighting for their children's right to breathe clean air.
My girls, when they were growing as toddlers, their colds and coughs wouldn't go. And when they headed out of the city for even 10 days, they would magically get fine. That is what inspired me.
Today, the group has nearly 1,000 parents from across India.
Would have loved to have Parliament at the back, actually.
With banners in hand and oxygen masks on their faces, the members have gathered to protest outside Parliament.
The city is choking, and we want them to speak about this, to bring these conversations in the Parliament, in the laws, so we can at least hope for a better future for our children. So far, things have only gotten worse in the last decade.
One of the few measures the government is implementing is to close schools. Last year, schools were shut for 15 days, and since November, they have already been closed for over 2 weeks. A counterproductive measure, according to this school principal, especially for students from poor families.
The air is the same, whether in the school or in their house. They don't get any cleaner air because they have no air purifiers. They don't get the right education because they cannot connect online. And so they are suffering both ways.
Most of the capital's 2 million school children live in spaces like this. The only defense against toxic air is 1 curtain and 3 walls. Just like during the pandemic, Harshita is once again left to follow her lessons at home, glued to her small screen.
For online classes, the screen is so small. I don't think that school should be closed because I can go to school wearing a mask.
And then there are other consequences which doctors are only just beginning to grasp. A study by the Chittaranjan National Cancer Institute in Kolkata reveals that childhood cancers in Delhi have doubled since the 90s, when air quality began to worsen with rapid urbanization, industrialization and population growth.
There is a large mass in your right lung.
This 37-year-old man who prefers to remain anonymous is fighting lung cancer, a disease usually diagnosed in those over the age of 65.
I don't expect that this type of, actually, I have not taken any bad habits. I have not liked smoking.
The rise in lung cancer among those under 40 and non-smokers is especially alarming, according to this oncologist. In his view, pollution poses a risk as dangerous as smoking.
Like for lung cancer, smoking is one of the contributing factors. Similarly, increased level of air pollution and continuous exposure do give rise to higher risk of malignancies, including lung cancer. In fact, there are meta-analyses. There can be about 8 to 10% higher incidence of malignancies.
Living in New Delhi cuts an average of 12 years off life expectancy. This 33-year-old engineer has invented a machine designed to combat one of the major causes of air pollution.
Many farmers burn their agricultural waste, and that's why we came up with the idea of the tacavator. Instead of burning the air, the biomass is burned in our reactor. It gets heated between 300 to 500 degrees, and biochar is produced.
The residues are transformed into biochar, a vegetable charcoal that acts as a fertilizer. 10 machines have been installed across India, and a few others have been sent to Kenya, the US, and Canada.
Many other hardworking people are working on other aspects affecting the air quality. I'm optimistic that we'll be able to address it in the upcoming years.
Last October, the Supreme Court of India ruled that access to clean air is a fundamental right. The court directed both the state and central governments to take immediate action.